have some very interesting live updates. Unfortunately, I don't think we'll be able to discuss all that we have to discuss today. So we're going to have to prioritize. I'm just trying to turn on live on, go live on TikTok as well. Okay, there we are. I think we're all set across all social media platforms. I hope you are all doing well. Okay, let's jump in into the discussion. Some really shocking, interesting updates in US immigration around the world. So please tap in and share the live session. If you can hear me very well, let's make sure, first things first, if you can hear me good, please drop USA or an emoji of the US flag across the platforms: TikTok, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter. If you can hear me, please drop USA or type in the emoji of the US flag while we get started. Once I see the signal across the platforms, we can go. Not sure why my internet is messing up as usual. Let's see if I can pull this up from here. But okay, there you go. Okay. Yes, type in USA, USA, USA. Let's go very soon. We're going to be starting with USCIS's enforcement powers. USCIS's enforcement powers is now fully in effect. It went into effect on October 6th. I believe that was a couple of days ago. I'm sorry, my device just got logged out. So I'm just trying to re-log in, and then we can get started with our immigration conversations. So stay tuned. Don't scroll by. Okay, great. We're back logged in. Yes, so USCIS enforcement powers is now fully in effect. We started posting about this months ago. Must have been either May or April. We posted and told you guys that Kristi Noem had delegated enforcement powers to USCIS. USCIS, which is an adjudications agency, now has enforcement powers. They can arrest, deport, prosecute, investigate, and a bunch of other things. And I believe a few weeks ago, this was September 19th specifically, we did a live video session and we went through the entire final rule that implemented this. Why is this happening? It's my screen has my thing has been logged out again. Let's try again. Yeah, we went through all the 10 regulatory changes that the final rule instituted as part of USCIS's enforcement powers. Okay, great. I have it here. Thank goodness. Thank God. Okay, there you go. So let me share my screen and then we can just, just go through really quickly, because all the details are on our live sessions and on a bunch of videos that we have shared already on the subject. Okay, so I'm sharing my screen on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Let's go. USCIS has enforcement powers. This rule is already in effect. It went into effect, as I mentioned, on October 6th, which was, let me double check, on Monday, October 6th. This final rule went into effect. And according to the rule, USCIS has added on some people called special agents. And these are the 1811 type of agents, and they are empowered to investigate, arrest, and present for prosecution people who violate immigration laws. Now, they can be special agents by USCIS. They can arrest, they can carry firearms, they can execute searches, search warrants, arrest warrants, and other powers that are standard for federal law enforcement. And these powers were traditionally reserved for CBP, Customs and Border Protection, and reserved for ICE. But now, USCIS, which was purely an adjudications agency, have been granted enforcement powers, and that is already in effect from Monday. You'll see them actively taking part in law enforcement as USCIS. Obviously, this is going to blur the line between adjudicating, because an agency that's supposed to be adjudicating my green card application, work permit application, if I come to you to adjudicate and now you start arresting me, then that's a problem, because that could dissuade or discourage people from submitting affirmative applications. All right, so that they have this delegation powers in effect already. So that is for your information. The news was released on September 4th, 2025, and it went into effect on Monday, October 6th. All right, now let's move on to our next topic for the day. I wanted to go over the major provisions of the regulatory actions, but we don't have too much time. Let me see if I can run through. Perhaps we should run through it. Perhaps let's go over it. Let me just go over it briefly. USCIS's enforcement powers. Let me just pull up the enforcement powers. Okay, so the first thing that they can that the regulatory changes, they defined law enforcement, what it means. Then the second was disposition of criminal cases. USCIS can start investigations into criminal immigration law violations. They can arrest, number 3, for crimes in an officer's presence. And number 4, they can arrest for felonies while they are on duty. USCIS can now arrest people for felonies while they're on duty. And number 5, they can arrest for facilitating unlawful entry into the US. If you're trying to bring people into the US unlawfully, USCIS can arrest. If you're trying to help somebody, you're a harbor, meaning you're assisting somebody stay in the US in violation of US immigration laws, then USCIS can arrest themselves. Number 6, they can execute search and arrest warrants. USCIS officers can now execute search and arrest warrants for immigration and non-immigration crimes. Number 7, they can carry firearms. USCIS officers can carry guns so long as they are properly trained and certified. Number 8, standards for law enforcement activities. They may use, USCIS officers can use deadly force, non-deadly force if lives are in danger, for deadly force if lives are in danger, and they can also use non-deadly force. And they can pursue fleeing suspects by vehicle. So now USCIS can act like the police and high-risk encounters. This, as I said the last time in September, this is like the US is turning into an action movie every day. Number 9, USCIS can criminal search warrant and firearm policies. USCIS can set policies on searches, seizures, firearms, and create training equivalent to ICBP. Number 10, the regulatory change was technical edits and clarity in it regulations. So just pretty much housekeeping. They updated DHS references. They replaced old terms like border and transportation secretary, border and transportation security directorates with Department of Homeland Security and things like that. All right, so USCIS does now have full enforcement powers for your information. Okay, again, the caveat is that if you're submitting anything to them, you have to make sure that you are submitting something you are confident in, which means that at the very least, if you feel like, oh, immigration attorneys are expensive and I cannot afford it, at the very least, have a consultation, a consultation, and speak with the attorney. Let them clarify a few things for you so that you can understand where you stand. Okay, rather than appear for your immigration interview and something goes wrong, and then you become an arrest statistic. You don't want that. And a lot of these things are preventable. A lot of these things are preventable. For example, before you file an immigration application, if you have a removal order, you should not be applying for U.S. immigration benefit. If you have a removal order, you need to make sure a removal order obviously means that or I should say, a removal order means that you have a deportation order that you have been issued from or in immigration court. You were ordered deported or removed from immigration court. What that means is that you should not apply for a green card just like that. Before you apply for a green card, as somebody who has a prior removal order, you should seek to reopen that removal order in immigration court, rescind or cancel the deportation proceedings. And then once you have that evidence from court that the case has been terminated or rescinded, then we can proceed with USCIS. That's one of one of the reasons why people end up getting arrested at their immigration interviews. And you see, I'll tell you, some people don't even know that they have been ordered removed or deported, because you can be ordered deported from the United States in absentia, meaning you are not in court, but there's a final removal order that is called out in your name, that your full name, you are ordered deported from the United States. And you may be sleeping at home. You may not have even had notice that, look, there's even a removal proceeding going on in your name. Because for some people, they could move or change addresses and they don't remember to update immigration that I changed my address. And so USCIS could send you an NTA, notice to appear, right? They could refer you to immigration court, and then you get a notice to appear. I'm sorry, excuse me. And then you are summoned to immigration court on a particular date. Let's say you are summoned on July 5th, 2025. You are summoned on July 5th, 2025 to immigration court, and you didn't show up because you never got a notice. The judge orders you deported, and you are going about your daily life. You don't even know there's a deportation order against you. So imagine yourself driving without a license and ICE picks you, let's say the police picks you up, books you, and then they realize that, oh, well, they let ICE know that we have somebody here who doesn't have status. And ICE is like, oh, he even has a deportation order. Imagine how shocked you're going to be that there's a deportation order in your name. And there's ways we can check these things. I've recorded several videos in the past on how to check your EOIR case status. You need help, just contact us and we'll check that for you with your A number or something called your alien number, usually a nine-digit number that starts with A. You put it in on the EOIR case status, and then it will tell you what your standing is. You see, so people don't check these things. They go get married in their, with their girlfriends, and then they sit in their bedrooms and fill out application forms and appear at USCIS interview. And when you do that, you're just saying, take me as I am. I'm here for you. Just arrest me. Because you should have done your due diligence. You see, that is why I say, even if you're not retaining or hiring an attorney for the entire process, at the very least, have a consultation so that the attorney can let you know, oops, there's a red flag here. Why don't we take a look at this? Why don't we review this? Why don't you take a look at this before you proceed? And that puts you in a better position to appear more confidently at the USCIS office, because obviously now they have enforcement powers. So they're not going to bother to wait for ICE. They can their special agents can take action by themselves. So that's what this means practically for you. If you're applying for an immigration benefit with USCIS, you have to make sure that you've watched your back, you've done your homework, and you're not a candidate for USCIS arrest, either based on your past immigration history or even based on the current filing that you are submitting, because sometimes that can impact your ability to continue to remain in the US. All right, let's go on. Now, this, I believe, was on October 2nd. This was about last week. The US Department of Labor, they published the final rule, and the final rule is pretty much they're changing how, or they're changing how they set wages for H2A workers. These are people who are coming into the US to partake in things like farm work, or who are doing farm work that is not herding or range livestock. So H2A visas, they are non-immigrant visas, and it's not meant for all countries. Let me give you the countries. For example, Ghana, nationals of Ghana, they are not eligible for H2A visas. Let me pull up the list of countries and we can take a look at it. And I'll tell you what's going on with with that and how it affects all of us who are in the United States. Okay. H2A countries. Okay, let me see here. Bear with me. So the Department of Labor published this final rule, and the point is that there's something called the adverse effect wage rate, and that is a minimum wage that employers, which are agricultural people, for instance, how much they must pay foreign agricultural workers so that hiring them doesn't drive down wages for US farm workers. Now, under the new rule, the Department of Labor is saying that they're going to use the Occupational Employment and Wage Statistics Survey by the Bureau of Labor Statistics to set these wages. Instead of one single rate, they're going to set two different rates. Okay, yes, I have the countries now. They're going to set two different rates per occupation to reflect differences in skills or qualifications. Now, in that rule, they actually made the rule. The rule that was published is called an interim final rule. It wasn't a notice of proposed rulemaking, which is the process where an agency is trying to bring a new rule. They would usually have to do a proposal of the rule and then allow public comments, and then they'll review the rule, and then they can make the rule effective upon publication. But sometimes it becomes a final rule based on good cause justification. If you remember the diversity visa lottery, for instance, the final rule that proposed a $1 fee said that the Department of State, which is the agency that administers the diversity visa lottery program, said that they were not going to do a proposed rulemaking for the $1 fee because they didn't want scammers to take advantage and change their tactics, because the $1 fee was in response to the many scammers and speculative registrations. You guys, you were here. We reviewed the final rule for the $1 fee, and I showed you everything in the final rule. It was to prevent scammers from taking advantage. So they just published it, just to make sure that they blindside them, and the scammers will not even know that there's a $1 fee by the time they realize the fee is implemented. So they cannot adjust their strategies to take advantage. So the Department of State relied in that case on the foreign affairs exemption, on the foreign affairs function exemption. And sometimes that rulemaking process does not go through comment based on good cause justification. Now, they're in a hurry to implement this rule because the Federal Register notice says that there are actually labor market challenges in US agriculture. Let me share my screen and then I'll show you guys exactly what I'm talking about. I was very worried. Okay, it's in my iBooks. Let me see if I have the iBooks open here. I think this is it. Page 15. Page 15 to 17, thereabouts, is the good cause justification. There you go. I found it right here. So I'm going to, let me share my screen. Yeah, ooh, not this one, this one. There you go. All right. So you guys are looking at the H2A, the interim final rule. Okay. This is it right here. Now, if you look at where I've highlighted, it discusses like what's going on with the uh, farm work in the US. Well, before we go there, let me mention the countries that are eligible to receive H2A and H2B visas. So H2A and H2B visa programs allow US employers to bring foreign nationals to the US to fill temporary agricultural and non-agricultural jobs, respectively. So H2A is for agric, H2B is for non-agric. The countries eligible are Andorra, I wish I had shared my screen. Andorra, Estonia, Madagascar, Argentina. Let me look. Okay, for Africa, we have South Africa. We have, let me see here. If we have, yes, then we have Jamaica. It's not an African country, but we do have Jamaica. And then let me see if there's another African country I can find. I hope my geography is still, because maybe I should I'm going to share my screen so that you guys can see the countries. But okay, there's Mozambique also. I see Mozambique. And then I see Mauritius. Yeah, so there are few African countries that are eligible to participate, but not all countries are eligible. Your country must have the H2A or H2B treaty signed in order to participate. Now look on page 13 of the interim final rule released by the Department of Labor on October 2nd. Let me just go to I wanted to go to the title so you'd see it, but that's fine. Now look here, it says that as discussed below and based on the department's most recent NAWS data on US crop workers, much of this illegal inflow artificially boosted the supply of labor at relatively lower costs compared to the labor costs associated with a legal workforce. The near total cessation or the stopping of the inflow of illegal aliens, because the borders are now practically closed. People are not coming in like before. Now, the fact that there's no inflow of illegal immigrants combined with the lack of an available workforce. When it comes to farm work, there is a lack of available workforce in the US. Results in significant disruptions to production costs and threatening the stability of domestic food production and prices for US consumers. Unless the department acts immediately to provide a source of stable and lawful labor, this threat will grow as, let's go here, let me see. As as there's enforcement in immigration laws. Now, I cannot read the bottom part, but that's the point over there. If you come here on the top of this, let's read here. It says that these types of risks to the American food supply have supported good cause in the past and support them now. As explained in detail below, any delay in implementing this revised AEWR policy, because they're trying to reduce the wages of farm workers so that the farm workers in the US can hire labor from outside to come and do farm work in the US, because now there's an urgent need for farmers in the US. They've run all the farmers away because 42% of the farm workers in the US are undocumented immigrants. All of this is contained in this 99-page document by the Department of Labor. Take a look here. It says here, employers in the US agricultural sector are facing a structural, not cyclical, workforce crisis driven by both the lack of an available legal workforce that is relatively mobile and able to adjust to changes in labor demands, as well as an ever-hastening loss of the mobile, illegal alien workforce that had flowed in and out of the United States through a previously porous border. Nationwide illegal crossings are now at a rate 93% lower than the peak level reached during the prior 4 years, a rate that has held steady since June 2025. Okay, now if you see what's happening here, they've said it in very diplomatic language, but look, they said employers in the US agricultural sector, they are facing a structural workforce crisis. And this is because there is a lack of American workers who are available to do legal work. They cannot adjust to changes in labor demands. I mean, there's people are not on the farms to pick the fruits. They are not there to milk the cows. And there's a hastening loss of, they are losing illegal immigrants, or undocumented immigrants, I should say, who were coming into the country and who were constantly doing, doing these farm work and helping us with our food supply. Now let me go here. Let's see. Let me see if I can. There you go. Let's go to the other pages. Let's go to the other pages that I highlighted. Okay. Okay, no, I didn't highlight. It looks like this, I must have highlighted another portion. Okay, there you go. Now look on this page 15, it says that with a historic near total cessation of illegal border crossing, the department must take immediate action to provide agricultural employers with a viable workforce alternative, while concurrently averting imminent economic harm. In very simple English, is saying that now people are not coming into the country unlawfully. There is a crisis, and so the Department of Labor, they must take immediate action because there's a serious crisis, and they have to provide farmers. And in the same document, they said there are about 1.8 million farms in the United States, 1.8 million farms in the US. I'll try to see if I can find it right now, but these farmers, or the employers, or agricultural employers, they're not getting people to work on the farms, and there's an urgent need to provide alternative action because there is impending economic harm. Like, the economic harm that is coming to the US is running with metal boots. It's coming at such a full speed. Like, look, it is imminent. It's coming. If they don't take care, it's going to be upon us very, very soon. Labor shortages have an immediate effect on farm operations. For example, one study found, okay, now, given that approximately 42% of the US crop workforce, they are unable to enter the country, they are potentially subject to deportation or removal, or voluntarily leaving, these impacts will likely be dramatically higher. Let me see if I'll find the 1.8 million. Okay, I found it. There you go. I think this is it. It's right there. If you guys can see my screen, I don't know if you can see my screen. Let me go back to my video screen. There you go. I think you can see the screen here. All of this is on the Federal Register. It says that in April 2025, for example, ERS reported that the number of farms in the United States continued its decline to 1.88 million in 2024, the lowest in more than a century, down from 2 million 4,000, I'm sorry, yeah, 2,004,000 farms in 2017. And finally, after decades of consistent trade surpluses, U.S. agriculture is okay. So I just came to this part just to show you the number of farms currently in the U.S. 1.88 or no 1.88 million is what I should say. 1.88 million farms currently roughly in the US. As of 2017, we had over 2 million farms in the US. Now it's declined. It's likely that there's going to be more decline because the people cannot get people to work on the farms. Some of the farmers are complaining. They go to work and the cows are not being fed. Milk is not being, cows are not being milked. And these cattle, they are not being fed, and it's affecting their productivity, it's affecting food supply, and it is a danger to the US economy. Let me go here again. There's another portion which talks about the food shock supply. I want to read that part to you guys, and then we can move on to, we have another super interesting discussion. We can move on to that. I'm sorry, we don't have too much time. There's always so much more. For example, this discussion we're having, there's so much more we can unpack, but we are very hard pressed. We just have 20 minutes more. So let me just hold on, bear with me, guys. I'm trying to. Okay, there you go. I want the part about the food shock. Yeah, I think we shared it on our social media. There you go. All right. Now, again, they are giving justification for why this final rule is an exemption, like it's exempt from the ordinary notice and comment procedure when a federal agency is trying to institute a new regulation, right? And it comes down to say, while emergency situations are the most common circumstances in which the good cause exception is invoked, the infliction, okay, no, I'm sorry. This is where I'm looking for. Let's come down here. This prong applies here because, as is explained in detail, the lack of a reasonable and viable AEWR methodology when combined with the current and imminent labor shortage worsened, I would say, or exacerbated or made worse by the near total cessation or stoppage of inflow of undocumented immigrants, increased enforcement of existing immigration law, and global competitiveness pressures described below present a sufficient risk of supply shock induced food shortages to justify immediate implementation of this interim final rule, with a subsequent final rule to follow the comment period. Okay, so as you can see, it continues to say there's ample data showing immediate dangers to the American food supply. There is just immediate dangers. The methodology, okay, gross hourly. Now it continues to say that the interim final rule addresses and solves this imminent threat by implementing a methodology that can serve a statutory function, right? So they want to pretty much just bring in foreign workers at lower wages to help with the food supply danger or crisis that we are currently likely to face in, very, very soon, pretty much imminent. All right, so that's that. So there is a crisis there that we are seeing. Okay, you guys, you better talk to your your representatives, your senators, this mass deportation. I mean, I'm just surprised. Did they not realize that all of these things were going to happen? I just cannot understand how, it's gotten to this point. The entire year we've been crying, like, stop this, stop this. A lot of these farm workers, they are undocumented immigrants. Can you try to regularize them or do something for them? One minute the president said, oh, we're going to slow down for farm workers. The next minute, Mama said, nope, everybody's included. Next minute, oh, we'll slow down for them. And then now the situation has gotten to, we're almost at the cliff. We're about to fall off the cliff. And they're like, okay, we need an emergency rule to now bring agricultural workers from outside the US so that they can come and supplement, because Americans don't want to do the work. It's all there in that federal notice. There's a lack of available workforce because the Americans lack the skills, the skills to do farm work. They lack the ability to do farm work. They're not willing to do the farm work. And the people that are willing to do it, you are running them away. So now we are in that crisis. So okay, now let's move on to other topics. Oh boy, we just have a few minutes left and then we can take questions. You guys, there's some interesting things happening. Let me share my screen with you. Burkina Faso, it has just been announced today that the US government, and you guys, I'm going to ask you your opinion on this, whether you think the US government is fair, is acting fairly. So the US government has just paused routine US visa issuance in Burkina Faso. I'm trying to share my screen. I'm not sure why. Is it sharing? I don't think so. Okay, let me take this off and let's see. Let's try this again. Now look at this. It just came in today. There is a pause of routine visa operations. Effective today, US Embassy Ouagadougou has temporarily paused all routine visa services. This pause includes applications for immigrant visas, as well as non-immigrant visas for tourists, business travelers, students, and the like. They're only processing, as usual, these diplomatic and official visas like A1, A2, G1, G2 visas. Now, guys, look at why the US government did this to Burkina Faso, and tell me if you believe this is fair or this is just the US exercising some unfair powers. Now you'll understand why. Look what just happened. So the US asked Burkina Faso that, oh, we want you to start taking deportees, third country nationals, people who are not from Burkina Faso. We want to deport people like Abrego Garcia or other people, like people from El Salvador, from Ecuador, from Guatemala, who may be criminals or not. We want to deport these people, even if they are not from Burkina Faso. Can you accept them into your country, Burkina Faso? And Burkina Faso's government said, we are not taking deportees from the US. Now, the Foreign Affairs Minister of Burkina Faso, Karamoko Jean-Marie Traoré, questioned if the US Embassy's decision was blackmail, or the US Department of State or the government, the US government. What they are doing is this blackmail, because they had just rejected the proposal, the American proposal that can you take deportees from third countries. Burkina Faso said, no, we are not taking deportees from third countries. In fact, Burkina Faso said that, let me tell you what they said. They said, is this a way to put pressure on us? Is this blackmail? Whatever it is, Burkina Faso is a place of dignity, a destination, not a place of expulsion. And so Burkina Faso has said, we are not taking third country deportees. And then immediately, the US government has paused visa services in Burkina Faso. And you know the reason the the U.S. embassy, the reason the U.S. embassy gave for pausing visa services. And sometimes I wonder if it's just diplomacy or they're being, look at the reason the U.S. embassy gave. It's on the U.S. Department of State website. Oh, not this one. Let me see if it's this one. They claim that they're, maybe it's this one. Let me show you this one. Look at what they claim. If you look on the U.S. Department of State website, it says, why are appointments being cancelled? This is for Burkina Faso, the Ouagadougou consulate or embassy in Burkina Faso. It says, the Department of State is committed to ensuring that its visa process upholds the highest standards for U.S. national security and public safety. We are currently renewing and evaluating existing screening and vetting procedures worldwide. What are they talking about? It looks like it was a reaction or a response to Burkina Faso telling them, sorry, we are not taking any third country deportees. We're a place of dignity. And the Traoré, who is the minister of foreign affairs, said that the proposal sounds indecent and they're not accepting such an indecent proposal. So it really places Ghana in a very unfortunate light and position, because Ghana has joined the likes of countries like Eswatini, Rwanda, South Sudan. These are the countries in Africa accepting third country deportations. And then Ghana joins these people. And you have countries like Nigeria, Burkina Faso, who are saying, we're not interested in this bullying. We're a place of dignity. We will stand our ground. We will not take third country nationals. You can do your worst. What do you guys think of all of this? What do you guys think? I mean, this is just, I just don't understand how Ghana got in the middle of all of this. Why is Ghana? And you guys, last night or yesterday, the U.S. Department of Homeland Security now said Abrego Garcia, the man who was unlawfully deported to El Salvador, and the Supreme Court told the Trump administration, you better facilitate that man's return. You wrongly deported him. The Trump administration themselves admitted it. This was an error. And then with their tail in between their legs, they brought the man back and have not allowed Abrego Garcia to rest since the time. They are hell bent on being vindicated. They're hell bent on taking revenge on this man. They've charged him with smuggling. They said he's a smuggler, different charges. Now, first they said they'll deport him to Eswatini, then they'll deport him to Uganda. Then, okay, they're giving him Costa Rica. And then a day ago, the Department of Homeland Security said they're now going to deport Abrego Garcia to Ghana. And then DHS said, oh, okay, no, it's wrong. Ghana's minister now says, oh, no, we're not taking Abrego Garcia. But you see, the point is that why should the Department of Homeland Security be playing with your name like this? Be saying, oh, we're deporting somebody to Ghana. What kind of discussions are you having for them to even be making such mistakes? Because the Department of Homeland Security or the US government cannot even make such a mistake and claim they're deporting somebody like Abrego Garcia to Nigeria or to Burkina Faso, because those countries are not playing those games. But if you are playing those games, then your name can be used as a mistake. Like, oh yeah, we'll be deporting him to Ghana. And then it's like, oh, well, not yet. But that kind of putting us in that kind of light where I've been reading a bunch of policy briefs on third country deportations and what the Trump administration is doing currently, deporting people into countries where they're not supposed to be. So some of these people who are being deported, they have protections against removal to their home countries. So they have withholding of removal, they have deferred, deferral of removal under the Convention Against Torture, meaning they cannot be deported to their home countries. Now they will take the people, the US government will have now deported some of the people to Ghana, and Ghana has also deported them to their countries where they are not supposed to be deported. And Ghana is now seen as complicit in all these human rights abuse cases, because you are aware that these individuals have protection against being deported to their home countries. And because the US government doesn't want to do it, they are using you to carry out these deportations. And as one of the complaints in federal district court said, the US government is using Ghana to do its dirty work on deportations. I didn't say it. And it's just increasingly beginning to look that way. And it just looks bad on the country, because other African countries are standing their ground and saying, we're not going to accept these, we're not a dumping ground of deportations. But, Ghana continues to play this game, and our names are all over in all these documents, court records. It's not a good look. Court filings, people are watching. The international community is watching. The international community is watching. The world is watching. I'm not sure what's happening. I don't know what kind of agreements Ghana has with the United States. If you read the one of the rulings, I think we must have discussed it a couple of weeks ago. It was the interim order that denied the motion to kind of stop the US government or the Ghana government from deporting these people back to their countries, deporting these people who had protection in US courts to their countries. I forget, what the order was, but the judgment, the judge said that the agreement between the US and Ghana seemed to have been hastily done. No written, evidence. It wasn't documented. So they say it's just, it just smacks of something that doesn't do us any good. So we'll continue to, watch and wait and see how this plays out. But countries like Nigeria and Burkina Faso, their position reaffirming that their country is not a deportation ground, and that they are not going to succumb to the US, really seems to position them respectfully within the international community and in front of the world. But our country, it's quite unfortunate. And you guys, what happened when the people who were taken to Ghana in violation of the court orders so that they could be taken to their home countries, Nigeria, Gambia, the people in Ghana actually took the matter to court in Ghana. And unfortunately, guess what? There was a lot of dilly-dallying. I think there was some delays even in the Ghana courts. And by the time we realized, the people had already been deported to their home countries, again, in violation of US court orders that said they had protection against being deported to their home countries. And so the question some of my, attorney friends were asking me is that, what is happening? Are the courts in Ghana also complicit? Are they part of all of this? Because this is really some unfortunate work happening, because we would have expected that the people who were wrongly deported to Ghana to be onwardly deported to their home countries, the courts in Ghana would have stepped up and done the right thing. But they also delayed, and unfortunately, the people were sent back to their countries, again, in violation of court orders. So this is not good at all, not good at all, not good at all. Very unfortunate situation. Let me see if we have some questions. Ghana says they are doing this out of, the goodness of their heart. So let's see how this goes. Let me see if there are any questions here. Oh, we have some nice comments here from Pakwesi Hagan. Thank you, attorney, senior counsel of Globetrotters. He says, hello, Ikia, keep up the good work. Thank you so much. I appreciate your very kind words. Lisa Brown on Facebook says, I'm so glad I married to a Ghanaian, because as soon as he gets home, we're going to be growing our own foods to minimize expenses. He has a wonderful green thumb. LOL. Wow. Wonderful. Yes. And you guys remember what President Trump said about farmers? Yeah, about farmers. He said that um, the farmers. When did my filter on Instagram go off? You guys, and you didn't tell me. I was recording this video filterless, but it's okay. Um, he said that the people, the farm workers, they have backs for farming and they don't get tired, they don't get sick, they don't get bad backs. Americans, on the other hand, I'm sorry. There you go. Americans, on the other hand, we cannot say that about them. All right. Let me see if we have any other questions and comments. Let me show you. Let me go back to this interim final rule for the farm workers. There you go. I found exactly what I'm looking for. Let's go back. You guys are going to see the Department of Labor themselves. They've seen what is happening. Oh no, is this it? No, let me take this off. And they are pretty much calling out American workers. And they're like, look, American workers, they are there crying, deport illegals. But when it comes for them to actually do the work, they are not available to do this farm work. Let me see here. Is this showing? Let's see. I'm going to read this to you guys. And you will see exactly what the US Department of Labor's own filing is saying about American workers and farming. Is this it? Let's see. I think this is it. Okay, there you go. Okay. So this is on page 16 of 99 of the interim final rule. It says that in addition, the Department of Labor does not believe American workers currently unemployed or marginally employed will make themselves readily available in sufficient numbers to replace large numbers of aliens no longer entering the country, voluntarily leaving or choosing to exit the labor force due to the self-perceived potential for their removal based on their illegal entry and status. Okay, so pretty much they're saying that American workers who are unemployed, and you are saying that, American workers should come and do the farm work. They are not going to replace those people. Now look at this. It says the supply of American agricultural workers is limited by a range of structural factors, including the geographic distribution of agricultural operations, the seasonal nature of certain crops, and overall unemployment rate. Furthermore, agricultural work requires a distinct set of skills and is among the most physically demanding and hazardous operations in the US labor market. These essential jobs involve manual labor, long hours, and exposure to extreme weather conditions, particularly in the cultivation of fruits, tree nuts, vegetables, and other specialty crops for which production cannot be immediately mechanized. They cannot use machines to do the work. Human beings have to do the work. Based on the department's extensive experience administering the H-2A temporary agri visa program, the available data strongly demonstrates a persistent and systemic lack of sufficient numbers of qualified, eligible, and interested American workers to perform the kinds of work that agricultural employers demand. In simple everyday language, American workers will not do this hard work. That's all of this English that the US Department of Labor is quoting. Americans will not do the work. They are just not going to do it because these things, cultivation of fruits, vegetables, specialty crops, Those things, you cannot use machines. They cannot be mechanized. It's long hours. It involves manual labor, and it is among the most physically demanding and dangerous jobs in the US. It is undocumented immigrants and even immigrants who are doing this work. And so now you have run them all away with your harsh policies, and now you have an emergency. Now bringing out an interim final rule, crying that, oh, we need to now go and hire foreigners, agricultural workers. I mean, make it make sense. You have the people here. Why not try to regularize them in some way? Now you are doing an interim final rule for H-2A visas, lower the wages so that employers can actually now go and find foreign farm workers and bring them back into the US to come and do the same work. You guys, this just sounds like, I don't know if this administration thought through what they were doing. Every day, people, they're just both hunting and hunting down undocumented immigrants. And yes, many of these undocumented immigrants, statistics have shown, and we've showed it right here on our live sessions. Many of them don't even have criminal backgrounds. Over 70% of them, those who are detained, they don't even have, violent criminal backgrounds. So what was the rush or the logic in enhancing or ramping up mass deportations, immigration enforcement at the detriment of our food supply? You guys saw it. This is the Department of Labor. This is their filing. Let me go back. Let me show you guys this. Let me show you guys this. Hold on. I'm going to show you the document I'm reading from, because I know that sometimes some people just love to say, oh, it's fake news. How do we know what you are reading from? Let me just show it to you guys so you will see it, that this is the filing that we're reading from. This is from, there you go. So look at this. This was a rule posted on October 2nd, 2025 in the Federal Register Notice. If you Google it, you'll find it on the Federal Register Notice. Federal Register Notice is a database of the US's regulations. They publish things that are, rules, laws, daily journal for US regulations. It's in the Federal Register Notice. And that is the final rule. You heard it yourselves. Americans will not do this job. It is hard, it is difficult, and they are not willing to do it. They don't have the expertise for it. They are just not going to bother to do it. So now we have this food shock supply coming up very soon. So get ready. We're all going to likely pay the price of this. There's a lot more policy decisions that we could discuss. There's a lot of them, but we don't have too much time. We can only do a few discussions at a time. So just make sure you're following our social media pages, and we can see how best we can help. Let me see if there's one question that at least I can answer today. Dwayne Thompson on TikTok says, interview for green card next week. Should I upload evidence or documents 5 days before interview? It depends. I mean, you can upload it, but you should also make sure you take any evidence you have to the interview, because when you go for the interview, the officer is going to ask you, do you have any updated evidence? Because usually between the time you file and from the time you file and when you're called for an interview, sometimes it will be 8 months, sometimes 6 months, sometimes 1 year. And so they would like to see if there are any updated evidence, or for example, if it's based on marriage, any updated bona fides, or if it's based on even preference immigrants category. If you had some criminal issues pending, you have a court disposition, or whatever it is, update on your case. But yeah, we help clients in all 50 states prepare for their immigration interview, and we do mock interviews with them, and attend also. So feel free to contact us, and we'll at least discuss with you. Sweets on TikTok says they should go to the farms and work. No one is coming from outside to work. Sweets, you want us to die? You want us to die out of hunger? Eh? Please, we need farm workers. They've run all the farm workers away. Very unfortunate. And then there's another comment on TikTok that made me laugh so much. You guys are so funny. Someone said, shame on us, Ghana. So yeah, we're yet to see what more is going on. We'll see. Things are going to unfold. Nothing will stay hidden. Everything will come to light. I mean, we'll understand some more soon. I see a few more questions here. Okay, Kofi Doctor says on TikTok says Ghana deported them to Togo. Yes, I saw that there was a BBC article on that where it says yeah, Sweet said like Ghana did. What a shame on us. US is a bully. Yeah, it's a very unfortunate situation as well. Well, guys, thank you again for joining us on this live session. I've enjoyed hosting you guys, just discussing US immigration matters. If you've enjoyed the session, please drop USA in the comment section to encourage us, and let's make sure that you guys heard everything we discussed. Let's see here. Franca Ado on Instagram says, I have a 485 interview next week. Guys, drop USA if you can hear me still and you can you enjoy the session so far. We're doing a final wrap-up question. I have a 485 interview next week. I-130 got approved last month. My daughter filed for me. Is it okay? Just take my I-94 since I can't find the old passport. I have a new one issued 2021. Yeah, the I-94 is a good one. Is a good one because one of the in fact, one of the first requirements of doing an adjustment of status inside the US is that INA Section 245A, okay, Immigration Nationality Act Section 245A, is that you were inspected and admitted or paroled. That's when you can get an immigrant visa in the US without leaving. There are some exceptions. And so if you do have an I-94 that shows that you were either paroled or you were admitted, inspected and admitted into the US, it's always good evidence. But Franca, feel free to call us and let's review that some more for you. And oh yes, Miss Ikea Esmenu, that's our president for the Wesley Girls High School 2004 year group. She says, amazing delivery. Thanks for sharing this information. LOL, the filter. Yes, Instagrammers didn't tell me my filter was off. Guys, thank you again for joining. Let me not waste your time. Please don't forget to like and share this video. Somebody's looking for this information. Somebody is looking for us. AK Poku Law, we represent clients in all 50 states throughout the United States. We are excited to help you. This is what we've been called to do. And so we are at your service. We represent clients globally, all countries around the world. We have clients in all countries and we can help you with your US immigration matter. So make sure that you contact us. And if you have not followed us, please just go on and hit that follow button. AK Poku Law across all social media platforms. I'll see you guys soon. And our contact information, someone is asking, is 802-780-0564. Just Google us, AK Poku Law. Sammy Boots on Facebook says, oh, AK, we love you. I wish you talk to some nurses for me. Can I hit you privately? Absolutely. Please message us and let's see how we can help you. Okay, thank you guys. Take care. Bye. Have a great weekend. Take care. Facebook, LinkedIn.